So have you seen the trailer or the screenshots for Demonschool and thought, hey, this game looks really interesting. This game might be for me. Well, it might be for you, or it may not. Either way, let's find out, and today let's talk about Demonschool. But before we get into that, please hit that like and subscribe button. Help this channel grow. Something like 75 to 80% of all the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you guys all subscribe, then it would be like an extra, I don't know, 10 subscribers, which would be awesome. I have really low goals, but you know what? If you set your goals low, then you can achieve them. As you can tell, I do not plan on being a motivational speaker or a life coach. Anyway though, let's get into Demonschool. I've heard many people say that this is like a tactics game mixed with a Persona. And I say to that, well, then that would just be Persona 5 Tactica. And yeah, no, I don't really think that that's true about this. Yes, it does have elements of like tactic style games, and it also does have some elements of some jrpgs, specifically Persona, but it is its own beast completely, and not just in one of those mechanics, but in pretty much everything all at once. And the game starts off with you in control of the character Faye. You're traveling by boat to this secretive university that you were recently accepted to, and it is, of course, secluded on an island. On the trip up there, you meet another individual by the name of Namiko. Namiko puts up with you, but you can tell like you're not her vibe, because the thing is Faye is a lot of energy, very aggressive, but sometimes in the best way possible. And what you learn really quickly is that if Faye has your back, she's going to stand up against anything. You see, as soon as they dock, there are some like bug type individuals who tell Namiko that she can't stay on the island. Well, Faye pretty much just harasses them and then, well, kicks their ass until they let Namiko stay. And much to Namiko's displeasure, Faye and Namiko are pretty much inseparable now. Now, again, it's not because Namiko really chose this, as she is still trying to make a good impression on the island. She just got there. This seems to be a very elite, almost like selective group that are allowed to go to this school, and she doesn't want to mess it up, and she can already tell that she has a troublemaker as a quote-unquote best bud now. But really, this duo actually makes a good pair, and as the game continues, Faye's chaotic energy really pays off, and you get to see how much of an asset it really is. Because you see, this school is definitely not like any other. While there are more traditional courses or learning opportunities, they also study the occult, and for Faye and Namiko, they actually take on most of the assignments that have to do with the more dangerous things. In fact, our very first assignment is to find this tape, this VHS tape that if you watch it, you will die after you see it. Now, the girls have 3 days to find this tape, and this leads them into actually forming an entire club around like the mysterious and the occult, as well as welcoming new members into their club and coming to the grips with the fact that they are actually fighting demons. And the combat style, like I said before, really plays out like a tactics style game, where the floor is sectioned off like a grid and each character takes their turn. But one of the big differences in this game with its combat is that you actually control everyone on your team first. You use all of your act points until there's none left. Then you go ahead and execute. Your characters will automatically move themselves all at the same time. And number one, I should have to say, like, it actually looks cool when it's playing out before you. And if you made a mistake, you're able to rewind and go back to where that mistake was made and do something different. Another thing to take in account is that all of the characters all play out different. As you can guess, Faye is an attacker, more like a monk, but there's other characters who are like healers, and they actually cannot do damage to the enemies at all. Their only job is to heal. And so a lot of the strategy also comes down to where you're going to put your characters. How are you going to act? Are you going to try to run towards the enemy or run away from them? And, just coming up with all of these different diverse plans is probably one of the best parts of the game. But I will say this, it does take some time to get used to not controlling your characters. Like, with every step of the way, everything that they do, it does feel a little hollow at times, but you will get used to it. I'll also say too, there are special abilities that the gauge will slowly build while you're in combat, and it's just one button you push and they'll do it. But there isn't a lot of other options as far as combat. Like when you engage in combat, you're not choosing the type of attack or if the character uses skills. Most of that is already chosen for you. And if I'm gonna be honest, the combat in this game is actually legitimately difficult at times. There's other times where I got kind of hung up on just taking down enemies that I forgot to look what my objective is. You see, every battle has pretty much the same objective, and that is you kill X amount of demons and then you're able to leave that area where you're having the fight. And so it's just my personal experience, but as I was playing the game, I realized like as soon as I take out that, you know, a magical number of demons that they want me to take out, then leave as quick as possible, because they just keep multiplying, and you know, you can easily get overran, and if you do, you have to start all over again. But yeah, it's incredibly important to kind of master all of those things together when it comes to the combat, because like I said, the combat's kind of difficult. Now, one thing about the game that I absolutely love is the art design, the art direction, the utilization of it. I really appreciated it, and it's funny because this is something that I was a little bit torn on when I first started playing it. I really wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but it really grew on me as the time went on, and of course as I met other like demons and bosses and just really explored the environment as well, I started to really enjoy the artwork, and I think it's like such a big part of the game. Obviously it's what you see, but it's also the way that it is very congruent within itself that makes it feel like its own world. A couple things that I would change or I would have liked to see different is like things like the equipment. There isn't much or actually any emphasis on equipment, and for me that's just something I'd like to have a little bit more control over. And there again, it's sort of that like control thing. Like when it comes to the combat, you don't really choose much. You do, but you don't. You choose this like generalized strategy, and then from there your characters just kind of go on their own. Now granted, they all pretty much do the same attack all the time, but it doesn't feel like you have that control, even though you really do. But when it comes to like equipment and things like that, for me it's one of the fun things about an RPG is I'd like to just loot hunt, and so there's not really any loot to hunt. And I also have to say, I felt like at times the story really dragged. The pacing could have been better, because there was moments, and I'm not going to get into any specifics as I don't want to ruin anything for anyone, but there were moments where I really was just kind of bored, and I was hoping that the game would hurry up. But don't get me wrong, it never stayed that way, and for the most part the game was really intriguing. I also really liked the dialogue. There was a lot to like about this game. I just felt like there was a few issues in there that I wish were a little bit different or weren't my cup of tea. Now for me, honestly, I think I would give this game a really strong 8 out of 10. It's a really good game, and I think they really have a great foundation. I'm very curious about what they would do with the sequel, and hopefully we'll find out. Because like I said, I think there's a lot there, and for the most part it didn't seem like they skipped on any features or anything. I mean, they've even added to where you can have a relationship, or it depends what type of relationship you can have with someone based upon how you interact with them. There's a lot of mechanics in the game that I think that they've done a really good job with, and I do think like the biggest thing that I would probably add more to would be the combat. Even though they had a really interesting system that I don't know I've seen done before, I'm sure I have, but it's very rare. It does feel like that once they put that in there, then it was almost like hands off and they didn't add anything else, and it could have used a little bit more. But that's just, again, that's my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. You heard of Demonschool? Is it something you're interested in? Have you picked it up? What would you score it? What games are you playing? Anything and everything in that comment section is much appreciated. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.